Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. We are today talking about Tarleton's Masters of Education program in Educational Administration. And I'm pleased to be joined today by two faculty representatives from the program. As they're going through their presentation, we invite you to go ahead and submit your questions. We'll handle those at the end of the presentation. You should see the Q&A box that you can use to submit your questions, or feel free to use the chat box as well. This particular degree program has three concentrations: higher education, educational technology, and principals or superintendent's certification. Today, we are talking about the first two. For those of you interested in principals or superintendent certification, that content will be handled in a separate presentation that we're recording tomorrow, because there are several options for pursuing that certification that extend beyond this particular degree program. So with this, I think we'll just turn it over to our faculty.
Well, hello, I am Dr. Anthony Edwards, and I am the advisor for the Higher Education Leadership concentration.
And good morning, afternoon, whenever you're watching this. I am Dr. Nicole Mishnick, and I am currently the advisor for the Educational Technology concentration.
Okay, so our program is 30 to 33 credit hours in length, and it's really designed with adult learners in mind. So it's designed to be completed around 15 to 18 months, depending on how many courses you take per semester. Typically, students take 2 to 3 courses per semester, and we have fall spring courses. So we have courses that occur obviously in the fall and the spring semesters, but we also offer summer courses. Many of the courses are 8 weeks in length. So you can have in one semester, you can have a first 8-week course and a second 8-week course. And again, most of our students are working professionals, and so we have designed the program with that in mind. And another benefit for many students, particularly because a lot of our students are looking at being in the workforce, this is a non-thesis graduate program. So for those that are looking for programs that don't have a thesis, this would be a program like that.
So our admission requirements for our program are, you can see them here, but I'll briefly talk through them. You would just apply to the College of Graduate Studies, and then we actually have rolling admissions. So you can start fall, spring, or summer semester. Our coursework is not necessarily sequential, so you can drop in at any semester and get started. We prefer you to have a 3.0 cumulative GPA, but we, in certain circumstances, do conditional admissions if your GPA is below a 3.0. Another benefit to our program is that we do not have a GRA requirement for admission. And then for the two specific concentrations that we're going to be talking about today, there is not a separate application process. So your application to the College of Graduate Studies serves as your application directly into either of the concentrations you'll be hearing about.
Okay, so with the higher education concentration, we have students that are coming from a variety of backgrounds. So many of them do work in higher education. They might be things like academic advising, enrollment management, student services, career advising, or residential life. We've also had students in athletics, but we have students at varying levels. So some are entry-level professionals, and some are professionals who have been in the field for a while but haven't yet attained the master's degree. We also have folks that are in K through 12 that maybe are looking at transitioning to higher ed, or have maybe work in dual credit or something where there is an interrelationship with higher ed. Program is fully online. We really designed the program to be very collaborative. All right. So there are lots of online discussions, as well as a variety of group assignments and projects. So it's not just really a correspondence course where you read something and turn something in. It is really designed to have interaction with me as the instructor for the core courses, as well as our instructors of our other courses. but also with each other, because we're preparing people for leadership in higher education, and part of leadership is learning how to collaborate and work in teams. Uh, so why do people choose this concentration? Well, some are interested in career advancement and going further on in the higher education leadership field. Other students may be looking at potentially getting into maybe a Doctor of Education program afterward, and we do design the program for students if that's something that they choose, that they get experience with reading and reading articles, potentially even writing, presenting at conferences, things of that nature, doing research projects. So we design it for students with a variety of interests. So the curriculum is, again, 30 hours for our particular concentration. And this pathway shows if you started in the fall, but if you started in the spring, you would pick up where it says semester 2. And if you started in the summer, you'd pick up where it says semester 3. But in the fall, we offer higher education history and higher education leadership. And we offer higher education student services and higher education finance in the spring. We also offer comprehensive community college as well as higher education politics and policy in the summer. We also have 3 other courses that are courses that can be taken in different semesters. In this particular example, we have some of those courses being offered in the summer. So we have research and educational leadership, which again gives students an idea of what it takes, or in terms of reading articles and understanding how those articles are broken down, how to interpret them. But it's designed for master's level students. We also have a leadership of diverse learning communities, just talking about the nature of education and the students that we serve. Also looking at that from a leadership angle. We also have an educational and technology course, leading technology, innovation, and education. And we also have a practicum, which is essentially the final course where you bring all of those things together and work on a project, either a project related to higher education if you work in higher education, or potentially researching jobs in higher education if you don't necessarily work in higher ed, or really just want to look at what the next job might be for you and want to research that. We are also encouraging students, when it makes sense, to take 9 hours in the fall and the spring, but that really is based on your ability to take those courses, but it kind of reduces the number of courses you have to take in the summer if you do that. Okay, so don't just take my word for it. We also have former students who have been successful in the program. Here's one example. There's Amanda Petrosian, and she is our director of financial aid at Tarleton State University. And she felt that the program was helpful in the sense of participating in collaborative projects and discussions. She got opportunities to engage in networking. She felt like the program gave her experiences in things like strategic planning, organizational leadership. It also helped her see the gaps and connections between academia, or scholarly work, and practice, because again, she's working in the field. And again, she was really passionate about the program and really recommends our master's degree in educational administration, with an emphasis, in this case, in higher education. But it can really help people in terms of making professional growth and enhancing your qualifications potentially for positions in higher ed that do require a master's degree. One of our current students is Brenna Powell, and she serves as a coordinator of campus operations at Tarleton State University. And she really enjoys the fact that the courses are fully online, because she does work full time, and she also has other obligations outside of class. It allows her to do the assignments at her own pace. Obviously there are due dates, but you can turn those things in early if you choose to. But you can, as long as you get those assignments done by the due date, that's the important thing. Also, she recommends folks that are considering starting the program that basically, if you look at all the things that are going on in higher education, the program really gives you uh, a broad example of all of the different skills and competencies that are needed for higher education leaders. Again, she recommends, if you're on the fence, to just get started, because the sooner you start, the sooner you can get on to the next stage of your career in life.
Right, I'm going to share a little bit about the educational technology concentration that we offer. So similar to higher ed, most of our students are working in education in some capacity. So we are a program that is designed to meet the needs of working adults. A lot of students are current teachers, or some have moved into a role on their campus as an instructional coach or a leader within their grade level or within their content area. Our program is also completely online, and we really focus a lot on application-based coursework. So one of our goals is for your assignments, for you to be able to apply them directly into your classroom immediately. So we do talk about the theory and the why, but we also tie it back to your actual classroom. And a lot of my students will write back and say, I use this immediately with my students, or I've been looking for this tool that you provided me. And so we get a lot of positive feedback about the assignments they do in their coursework and how it's application-based. Also similar to our higher ed concentration, a lot of our students are looking for career advancements. They want to be a technology leader on their campus, or they want to move up to administration and don't necessarily want to be a principal or a superintendent. And this is a route that they can take that puts them in a leadership role, but not in that specific superintendent or principal realm. So this shows the coursework that you would take if you were enrolled in this concentration. We share the same general leadership courses with the other concentration, which is leadership of diverse learning communities, and then research and educational leadership. Then the 7 courses listed below are the ed tech courses that you take along with the semesters they're offered. If you choose to pursue this route and you're admitted, I would be your advisor. And so I always advise students, you want to prioritize your ed tech courses and then fill in with the ED/AD courses when you need to fill your semester up, because as you can see, the ed tech courses are offered on a rotational basis. So whether you started summer, fall, or spring, you would just start with those courses. Most of my students take 2 to 3 courses a semester. They are all 8-week courses with the exception of the capstone. You'll see that on the bottom. It says EdTech 5370 capstone. You take it your last long semester. So that would be either fall or spring. And it's a culminating event where you're really pulling together everything that you've learned in your courses and you're completing a project. I've had students that have moved something online. So they wanted to incorporate an online module into one of their classrooms, and they have done that in the capstone. I've had teachers who created a training for other teachers. So they wanted to train other teachers how to use a certain tool. So they use the capstone as an opportunity to create a training for other teachers on their campus. So that's kind of your final project where I always tell them you get to show what you know. You show us what you know, and you're pulling together all of the information. But it is essentially 10 courses, 8 educational technology, and then 2 basic leadership courses. These are just some testimonials that I've had from 2 former students. I'll pause here so you can read them. And then also just share that, both of these students transitioned into different roles. So the top student, Rusty, he is at an ISD, and he is now overseeing a technology department there. The second quote is from Dr. Collier, who actually, since she shared this with us, has promoted again, and she is, I think, an assistant or associate president or something at Trinity Valley Community College. So she took what she learned through her ed tech courses and actually applied them in a community college environment. But she comes back every semester and speaks with my doctoral students that I work with. And what she tells them is, more than anything, this program taught me to see a problem and solve a problem and think, how can I use technology to solve that problem? So whether you're applying for either program or you want to pursue the EdTech or the higher ed concentration, we do want to share some information with you about scholarships, because sometimes I think students forget that there are scholarships that are available for graduate students as well as their undergraduate friends. So these links will take you to information for graduate student scholarships. Also want to point out that you would need to complete the FAFSA so that you could be eligible for those scholarships.
All right. So, question you might be asking is, you may have heard that we have an EDD program, or Doctor of Education program. How does our master's program relate to our doctoral program? Well, the doctoral program has concentrations in higher education leadership, educational technology leadership, EC through 12 leadership, and educational finance. And as you've heard today, we have concentrations in our master's program related to higher education leadership and educational technology leadership, as well as EC through 12 leadership, even though that will be covered in a separate presentation. So they are very related in terms of giving you preparation that will help you be successful at that next level when you are ready for that. And again, our EDD classes are, obviously a different level of class, and so they're designed to build on the foundation of writing skills and research skills that we want you to develop in the master's program.
All right, our next steps, if you're ready to just, this is what you want to do, you could complete your application, which is at the website, the tarleton.edu/graduate. It's the same application that you would just fill out for the graduate school. It's the same application for our program. If you want more information, you can go to our website, or you can also reach out directly to us at the end of this presentation. We will share our contact information, and any of your advisors in the Masters of Educational Leadership Department would be happy to get back to you and answer any questions you might have.
All right. Well, thank you so much to our faculty for that great information. It's nice to have such a thorough overview of both of those concentrations. For our live audience members, we are now open for questions from you. Please feel free to go ahead and use the Q&A box or the chat box to submit those questions, and we'll get them answered for you. In the meantime, I did have a question or two of my own. Both of you mentioned more than once that this degree program is a fully online graduate program. And I know for many, it is hard to wrap their minds around what it actually means to be a fully online student, particularly at the graduate school level. So if both of you could talk a little bit about how exactly is the program executed online. Tarleton uses Canvas as our learning management system. So if you could talk more, and I know Dr. Edwards, you had also talked about the importance of being able to collaborate as a leader. How is collaboration happening if students are only studying online?
Well, I'm glad you asked. If one thing we learned, I think, from COVID is that there is remote work in higher education, and it does happen. Whether you're in person or whether you're at different distances, teams have to be able to use technology in order to collaborate. Tarleton actually has multiple campuses. So you may know that we have a main campus in Stephenville, but we also have off-site teaching locations in Fort Worth, Texas, Waco, Texas. And so, as well as our Tarleton Online location. And, we have collaboration across campuses. And so it's, if you look at some of our community colleges, a lot of them have multiple locations. Look at Tarrant County College or Dallas College. They've got multiple locations, but they all have to work together. In our classes, again, we do use Canvas. Again, we each semester in our courses, they select a group topic within that larger topic of the course, and they work together and they actually build group expectations about how they're going to work together as a group and manage, each other. And they complete a literature review. They actually observe higher education professionals. They do an interview with higher education professionals, and they write about it in their group space and talk with each other and actually work toward, at the end of the semester, they do a group presentation. And so they work together online to figure out who's going to cover what slides. And they work on a group paper together at the end of the semester. And so using all of their work that they have done collectively. So it is possible to work together online. The tools today, whether it's Zoom or whether it's instant messaging, or the collaboration features within Canvas, it is definitely possible for people to collaborate with one another using technology. And as Dr. Mishnick teaches in her courses, technology is an extremely important part of education.
Yeah, so I think that's a great question. And one thing I love to say to my students is I think I'm in a unique position because we are teaching educational technology courses and we're teaching about the tools that you can use to collaborate. We're also teaching, one of the classes you take is designing online learning environments, and another class you would take is facilitating online learning environments. So it's really important to me that as the advisor of the program that we're practicing what we preach. And so we are teaching you how to design an environment where students can thrive online, and then how to facilitate an environment where students can thrive online. So we are building those same principles into the courses that we use. And so some ways that we do that, if we do use Charlton's LMS, and it's module based, so you'll progress through modules. All of our EdTech courses are designed the same way. So once you understand the design of the course, then you can just focus on the content. And so we use Google Forms for you to communicate and give us feedback, and for us to check in on your progress throughout the semester. We build in due dates, so you do have some flexibility with modules. You always have at least 2 weekends to work on your work, but we give you support along the way, so everything isn't due at the end of the semester, because that is not setting people up for success, and we really want to make sure you're set up for success. The other cool thing that we do is use the tools that you're exploring to collaborate. So if I have students working on a group project and they're exploring Canva collaboration tool or Canvas, they'll use that tool to collaborate. Or maybe they want to dig deeper into Teams, then they'll actually use Teams to collaborate and then share with what they have explored and found out from that. So I think that our content area is unique in that it really lends itself to online learners, because you're actually getting to practice what we're trying to teach you.
Sounds very exciting. Thank you for that. That's helpful to know from both of you. So we've got an audience member asking, is there a particular bachelor's degree you would need to have in order to enroll in this master's program?
Not for the higher education leadership track. We take people from a variety of backgrounds. So, we do cover a lot of courses that deal with leadership concepts, but you're not necessarily required to be a business major or an education major. We have people from a variety of majors that come into our program and are successful.
You mentioned some of your success stories, people who've been able to advance their careers or go on to further education, higher education beyond the master's. Are there any other success stories that come to mind other than the examples you gave in your presentation?
Yes. Well, I don't want to name names because I haven't asked for their permission, but what I can tell you is I do have a recent graduate who works at a health science center, and she has been promoted to a kind of an associate vice president level role upon graduating. And I have a few others that they're essentially are once they have the master's degree in hand, then there are some things that are going to happen for them. It varies by student, and uh, but again, I also have a student that transitioned successfully from the master's program into our EDD program and is doing quite well in the EDD program. So depends. Some people are looking more in terms of career outcomes. Others are looking more in terms of the doctoral program. But um, again, uh, results vary because we have some students that are at lower levels and are trying to get to a middle level leadership position, and then we have some that maybe have been in higher ed for 10, 15 years, and they need that master's degree. And so then they're able to go toward more of a assistant vice president level role. So a lot of it is dependent upon their years of experience.
Thank you.
And I would say the same. I have a lot of students that even during the program, what we'll see is they'll start learning and applying what they've learned in the classroom or in the coursework to their classrooms, and then they'll naturally be elevated in their campus to share what they're doing with other teachers. And so a lot of times it's a natural progression that will start while they're still in school. And then by the time they graduate, then there's positions that have opened up on their campus that they can move into, or they've gained the confidence and the skills to apply for positions that they may not have looked at otherwise. And I also have a handful of students that have rolled directly into our doctoral program, and some that have gotten their master's in educational technology and then gone on, they've realized, oh, maybe I do want to be a principal. So they've transitioned into our principal certification program that for those that already have a master's degree. And so I know if that's something you are thinking about, you can hear about that tomorrow, but that I have had some students that are like, oh, I do want to be a principal, but I also want to take the technology courses, and have almost kind of done both.
Yeah. For people who are curious and wondering, what distinguishes for example, higher ed concentration at the master's level from what they would study in the EDD program? What's the difference?
So a lot of the difference is more in terms of the type of work that happens in our doctoral courses. Our doctoral courses are either face-to-face or live synchronous, and there are a lot of papers that students write that are going to be a little longer in nature than they would be at the master's level, and there's some interactive activities and discussions that happen at a doctoral level. At the master's level, what I'm really trying to do is to give them a foundational knowledge of some of the theories and some of the concepts and competencies for higher education professionals. And the goal really is to equip them primarily to be successful in their next job, but also give them a little bit of a taste of what it's like doing the kind of level of analysis and research that you would do at the doctoral level. But at the doctoral level, I think the questions that you would answer are going to be a lot more research oriented, and looking at what's the theory here, what's the conceptual framework, or what are the constructs, let's analyze, look at the data. Do you agree with the analysis of the data? Was their analysis appropriate for the kinds of questions that they're asking in terms of the research questions? We're not necessarily doing that so much at the master's levels, but we do look at articles, but it's really looking at it more so from the standpoint of how does this apply in a work scenario?
Dr. Michnik, what about you? If someone wanted to continue with educational technology at the doctoral level from the master's program, what differences would they notice?
So I think there's a pretty big distinction in our programs in the master's versus the higher ed. So as you heard me explain earlier, the master's is really application based. We're learning about the tools. We're learning how to teach online. We're learning how to design a good online environment. once you transition to the concentration for our EDD program, we are coming at it from a straight leadership lens. So the educational technology leadership concentration that is part of the EDD is not tool based, but it's big. It's setting up the systems, it's leading change, it's, you know, how do I set my organization up for success in a technology, in to use technology. A lot of my students are, some of them work in K-12, some of them work in higher ed, some of them work in outside of higher ed. So we can't just focus in that concentration on schools, because that would be doing a disservice to some of the students. So we really approach it from a leadership and like strategy and systems, and look at kind of the bigger picture.
Yeah, thanks so much. That's very helpful. And just to be clear, for our audience, the same academic department and faculty offers both our Doctor of Education in Educational Leadership and this Master's of Education degree program in Educational Administration. So I just wanted to make that clear. We've got an audience member asking, are there any face-to-face classes for an international applicant who might want to study with us here in the United States?
Not for the Master's in Higher Education Leadership. The doctoral program has had a face-to-face option.
All right, thank you so much. Well, this has been excellent. We thank both of you for your time today and sharing about your various concentrations that are available through our Masters of Education and Educational Leadership. For our live audience, I want to remind you that the recording of this presentation will be available to review on demand on the College of Graduate Studies YouTube channel. So you should look for that very shortly. And then for those who might be interested in learning more about options for obtaining principal certification or superintendent's certification, that is a separate presentation that's actually being recorded tomorrow. So, all right. Well, thank you everyone again for your time, both our audience and our faculty. And I think with that, our webinar will end. So we appreciate everyone.
Thank you.